A limousine glides through the darkness, its headlights slicing through the heavy Los Angeles air. It pulls up to a towering mansion, silent, cold, almost watching. The back door swings open. A woman steps out. She hesitates. Something feels off. But she brushes it aside. Lana Clarkson was used to Hollywood. She knew its highs, its lows, and the quiet desperation that lingered in the spaces between. Tonight wasn't supposed to be any different. She follows the man inside. The door clicks shut behind her. Hours later, a gunshot. A body slumped in a chair. Blood pooling on the floor. A desperate 911 call. I think my boss just killed somebody. But was this really just one tragic night? Or was it the inevitable end of a story that had been writing itself for decades? Because this wasn't a freak accident. This wasn't a moment of madness. This was the final chapter of a man whose power had protected him for far too long. What if someone had stopped him? What if someone had spoken up? What if this death could have been prevented? The answer might be more disturbing than you think. And before we go any further, ask yourself this: how many red flags do we ignore before it's too late? Because sometimes, silence is the deadliest weapon of all. If you're ready to uncover the truth, and learn what should have been done, then stick with me. But first, if you believe stories like this need to be told, hit that subscribe button. It helps get the message out. Now, let's go back. Let's unravel the warning signs no one wanted to see. Fame. Fortune. Untouchable power. Phil Spector wasn't just a music producer, he was a legend. A man who shaped the very sound of an era. The wall of sound wasn't just a technique, it was a revolution. He worked with the Beatles, the Ronettes, Tina Turner. His fingerprints were all over some of the greatest songs ever made. To the world, he was a genius. Behind the studio doors, he was something else entirely. For years, whispers swirled about his violent outbursts, his paranoia, the way he controlled people like instruments in a recording booth. He had a fascination with guns, waving them around as if they were just another part of his power. But no one stopped him. Why? Was it fear? Was it denial? Or was it the simple fact that in industries built on fame and money, power always protects itself? The stories were there. Musicians, girlfriends, assistants, all with chilling tales. A woman locked inside his house for days. A gun fired inches from someone's head. One moment, he was charming. The next, he was a storm no one could escape. And still, nothing changed. Record labels kept signing him. Artists kept working with him. People kept looking away. So, here's the question: how does someone like this move through life unchecked? Have you ever seen it happen? Have you ever watched someone with power get away with things they shouldn't? Drop a comment below. Because in this world, silence isn't just complicity. Sometimes, it's a death sentence. Now, let's talk about the night it all went too far. Sometimes, the most dangerous moments feel like any other. Lana Clarkson wasn't a stranger to Hollywood. She had seen fame, had tasted success. But by 2003, the industry that once embraced her had moved on. She was working at the House of Blues, greeting VIP guests, smiling for people who barely noticed her. Then, Phil Spector walked in. He wasn't just another customer. He was a music icon, wealthy, influential, unpredictable. What did she see when she looked at him? A career opportunity? A way to escape the struggle? Or just another man demanding her time? One thing's certain, she got into his limousine. She would never come back. What happened inside that mansion? The driver, waiting outside, heard something chilling, a gunshot. A few minutes later, the door opened, and there stood Spector. His words were haunting. "I think I just killed somebody." The 911 call was frantic. Emergency responders arrived to find Lana slumped in a chair, a gunshot wound to the mouth, blood staining her clothes. The scene was horrifying. But Spector had his own version of events. He told police it was an accidental suicide. That she had picked up one of his guns, put it in her mouth, and pulled the trigger. Was that true? The evidence said otherwise. Gunshot residue on his hands. Blood spatter on his clothes. The gun wiped clean of fingerprints. Accidental? Or calculated? The forensic contradictions piled up. The positioning of her body, the way the gun was found, the lack of any motive for her to take her own life. Everything pointed to a chilling reality. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't random. This was a pattern. And this time, it finally caught up to him. Do you believe in coincidences? Or was this bound to happen? Drop a comment below. Because what happened next? It changed everything. The night Lana Clarkson died wasn't just a tragedy. It was the end result of years of ignored warning signs. And here's the chilling part, this could have been stopped. Phil Spector wasn't just a musical genius. He was a man known for violence. For decades, stories circulated about his explosive temper, his obsession with control, and his frightening unpredictability. He pulled guns on musicians, threatened women he dated, and lashed out at anyone who questioned him. People knew. And yet, nothing happened. Why? Because power protects abusers. Spector wasn't just rich, he was connected. He worked with legends, shaped careers, and had a reputation that made people afraid to cross him. How many times had people seen his rage and looked the other way? How many people laughed off the stories as just Phil being Phil? This is how it happens. This is how monsters hide in plain sight. These red flags? They're not always obvious, until it's too late. Love bombing and control. It starts with grand gestures, gifts, and praise. Then, little by little, they take over your world. Isolation tactics. Slowly, they pull you away from family and friends. They make it seem like only they understand you. Patterns of rage and manipulation. One moment, they're charming. The next, they explode, then blame you for making them angry. The untouchable status. They make sure no one believes you. They have influence. They have protection. And when the worst happens? People say, I never saw it coming. But the truth is, the signs were always there. Have you ever ignored a red flag, thinking it was nothing? Let's talk in the comments. Because knowing what to look for could mean the difference between walking away, or never getting the chance. Lana Clarkson's death didn't have to happen. And she's not the only one. How many times have we heard the same story? A powerful person, a long history of abuse, and a final, tragic moment that everyone claims they never saw coming? But the truth is, it was always there. Imagine if someone had spoken up sooner. Imagine if the industry had stopped protecting its own and started protecting potential victims. Imagine if those around Spector had refused to stay silent, if someone, anyone, had said, enough. Would Lana still be here? Would the countless others in similar situations have a different ending? This isn't just about celebrities. It happens in offices, in families, in friendships. And it continues because people hesitate to speak up. If you see the warning signs, say something. If you feel unsafe, trust your gut. Silence protects abusers. Speaking out saves lives. If you or someone you know is trapped in a dangerous situation, help is out there. There are people ready to listen. Organizations dedicated to helping. You don't have to do it alone. We've linked resources in the description, use them. Share them. Because recognizing the problem is just the beginning. Taking action is what makes the difference. This isn't just about celebrities. This happens everywhere. Have you seen it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Because the more we talk about it, the fewer stories will end like this one. Lana Clarkson didn't have to die. But she did. Because power went unchecked. Because warning signs were ignored. Because silence enables danger. Her story isn't just another Hollywood tragedy, it's a warning to us all. How many more times will we hear the same story? How many more lives will be lost before we stop excusing, ignoring, and enabling? This is bigger than one case. It's about the choices we make. The voices we listen to. The voices we choose to silence. The next time you see something, will you stay quiet? Or will you do something before it's too late? If this made you think, even for a second, hit like. Let's make this conversation louder. If you believe stories like this need to be told, subscribe. Because true crime isn't just about retelling what happened. It's about making sure it never happens again. And if you have thoughts on this case, on power, on silence, drop them in the comments. Because the more we talk, the more we change.